Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavadgitaclass, Ashtoto to Sri Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Bhagavadgitaclass, Ashtoto to Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So, I don't have the book with the marker in it, but I think I know what verse it is. That's all right. It's at the bottom of page 143. 140. Let's just make sure next Monday, as long as I start on the right verse. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this third day of February 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're reading from chapter 3, Karma Yoga, page 143, text number 6 at the bottom of the page. You ready? Okay. Kamendriyani samyamya yadaste manasasmaran indriyarthan vamburatma nityachara sauchyate. Kamendriyani samyamya yadaste manasasmaran Indriyarthan vamburatma mityachara sauchyate. Kamendriyani samyamya yaaste manasasmaran indriyarthan vamburatma mityachara sauchyate. Kamendriyani samyamya Aste manasa smaran indriyartan vimudatma mityachara sa uchite kamendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyartan vimudatma mityachara sa uchite. Anyone else want to try it? I'm sorry? At the bottom, you see page 143? At the bottom of the page. Oh, you have a different book. It's text number 6 in chapter 3. Yeah, you have the one book that's different. I think we should probably deep 6 that book. You have it? Okay, give me the book. Bring the book here. Hey, give her that. There you go. Bottom of the page, 143. Mm-hmm. No, text 6. Text 6. Karmendriyani. Karmendriyani samyamya. Ya aste manasasmaran. Indriyartan vimudatma. Mityachara sa uchite. Not bad. Thank you. Okay, I will read the word by word meanings and then go on. Karma indriyani, the 5 working sense organs. Samyamya, controlling, yaha, anyone who, aste, remains, manasa, by the mind, smaran, thinking of, indriya artan, sense objects, vimudha, foolish. We have to try to make all this stuff inaudible, okay, Najir? No sounds. Manasa, by the mind, smaran, thinking, indriya artan, sense objects, vimudha, foolish, atma, soul, mitya achara, pretender, saha, he, uchite, is called. Translation. Krishna says to Arjuna, one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Purport. There are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness, but make a show of meditation, while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers, but according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi, while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification, must be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. His knowledge has no value, because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So the Bhagavad Gita is also known as the Gita Upanishad. The Upanishads are known to be the essence of the Vedic philosophy. They're part of the original Vedas. And Srila Prabhupada has given us this Isha Upanishad. Isha means the Lord. So Upanishads usually deal with, they lean toward the subject of impersonal understanding of the absolute truth being simply one undifferentiated, unvariegated spirit. But Isha Upanishad makes clear that behind that glowing effulgence of spirit is a person, the supreme person. And the Bhagavad Gita distills the Upanishadic knowledge down into this 5 subject matters of the Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, the Atma, or the individual soul, the material world, or prakriti, and kala, or time, and karma. Now this chapter is called Karma Yoga. Karma, in its broadest sense, simply means activity. But in another sense, it means fruit of activity. Activity that is motivated by some material desire. Now pretty much that's all the kind of activity we know, so you can kind of scratch your head, well, what other kind of activity is there? But Karma Yoga is teaching us a different kind of activity. An activity that's based on the idea of sacrifice, and we'll read about that in a few verses hence. The whole premise of the Bhagavad Gita, as is the premise of all of the Vedic wisdom writings, is that we are pure spirit and that we're in a material environment. The environment begins with our very body. And we're in an unnatural situation because in this situation we identify with whatever body we're in. But these bodies are no different, really, in essence, than the clothes we're wearing. Now, we don't identify with the clothes. If our clothes I just noticed that I wear one of these chatters, and that it's got a hole in it. And that I'm going to have to discard it soon. Okay, there's no big crisis. I can get another one. Just like we get whatever clothes we're wearing, eventually it wears out, and we get new clothes. We usually get new clothes before it wears out, and we just deep six the others. So that's the experience we have. It's no big crisis. We are not affected. We're still the same person, but we put on new clothes. Now think of it in terms of the soul, the individual soul, the pure consciousness within ourselves. The first lesson of Bhagavad Gita in the beginning of chapter 2 is that we're not this body, but we're actually the soul within, the consciousness within. It's a very important and essential realization because it changes everything. It means that our real self-interest should lie with what's best for the soul. Now the first idea that's the best thing for the soul is to liberate it from the bonds of matter. We're by nature eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. There's a word for that, Sat Chit Ananda. Now this also describes the Supreme Lord. Najir, we have to keep it silent. You can't, because that's very distracting. So the nature of the spiritual world is it's eternal, it's full of bliss, and there's all-pervading knowledge. Now think of our situation in this world. There's so many millions of things we don't know. We're certainly not eternal in these bodies. The bodies came into being at a certain point and will die at a certain point. We're not eternal. And we're not always full of bliss. There's so many negative things going on in our lives, and we're trying to get some happiness, but sometimes we fail, sometimes we get a little. But it's not Ananda. Ananda is a whole different kind of happiness. It's never-ending and never-increasing, which we don't experience on this plane. So we as spiritual beings are in an unnatural condition because we're identifying with these material bodies, which are Asat, Chit, and Nirananda, just the opposite. So the puzzle is how to extricate the soul from this imprisonment of a body. And it's not just one, because the law of karma, this is karma yoga, is that when we finally leave this body, we're going to get another one. That's the first lesson. Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam jana tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatanamuyate. This is text 13 of the previous chapter. And what he's saying there is that, and we can intuit this is a very nice little lesson in one verse. Just as we can remember when we were little children, if we go back. We had a different body, we had a different mind, but we were the same person. And gradually we grew out of that body, and we had a child's body running around doing all things, say 8 to 10, say. And then you enter into adolescence, you have a different body, and then you become a young man or woman. And so the body is constantly changing, but I, the knower of the body, who is conscious of all these changes, that person stays the same. And at the end of this body, he says, Komara, what did it say? Dehinosmi tari Komara Jara. So we go from childhood to youth, Yovana Jara, old age, and then Tata Dehantara Prapti. Then after old age, what happens? Is it just the end? No. Tata Dehantara Prapti. You get another body. That's Deha means body in Sanskrit. Antara means other. You attain one. This is Krishna speaking. Dhiras tatra namuyati. One who is dhira, who is wise, is not disturbed by such a change, either as the observer of someone else's change or his own change. Now, how to attain that stage of dhira? One can only do so if he's not completely wrapped up in the body as his all in all. This is my everything, but it's not your everything. We've had so many millions of bodies before, human, subhuman, superhuman. And now we have this particular body. Hold on, I'll get in a few minutes. So, the second chapter dealt with that question and other questions. It was a summary. Now, in the third chapter, he's talking about how we can act in such a way that we don't prolong our entanglement in this material world through karmic activities. When we act fruitively, we are the whole mechanism of how does transmigration work? We have to know this. It works by the means of the mind. We all know we have a mind, we have an intelligence, and we say, my mind is disturbed today. I can't do something, or I'm feeling pretty good, my mind is at peace. It's my mind. It's not I mind. In other words, I'm not the mind either. I'm the soul, the observer of the mind. So we act with our mind, our body, intelligence all together. How to act with these elements through training and through awareness so that we're not prolonging our entanglement in this world and we're actually freeing ourselves. That's called the process of Naishkarmya, which was mentioned in text 4. He says, not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction. Freedom from reaction is called Naishkarmya. It means living, because you're going to do things in the world, but if your activities are not motivated by a fruit of desire, then you won't be incurring karma. And if you're actually in Krishna consciousness, you'll be eliminating karma from previous life. In other words, you'll be actually untangling your entanglement in this material world. So the art of working like that is what Krishna is going to be describing. Now, in the present verse that we read, he's saying that, well, one way is maybe I'll just sit and meditate all the time, But that's practically impossible, because when you sit and meditate, the mind will come up with so many ideas and memories and desires and all kinds of things. So what he's saying is, this is foolishness. He says a mityachara is a pretender. If one restrains the senses of action, that's like the hands and so forth, but at the same time the mind is so active within, then you're not really making any advancement. So that's not the way it's going to work. He's going to explain in text 9 how one can work and remain unentangled. So he's analyzing our situation here. We have to do something. You can't do nothing. That was also one of the verses he spoke in text 5. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities one has acquired from the modes of material nature. In other words, we have a certain nature. Some of us are prone really into activity, and some of us are prone to more reflection and intellectual work, and some of us are prone to just like laying back and just not doing anything. That's the mode of ignorance. We probably all... Haribol Rami, good to see you. Yeah. And so these modes, they affect us, what kind of work we like to do, what kind of music we like to listen to, everything. Foods we like to eat, people we like to hang out with. So those we're affected by those modes. Everyone in the material world has a certain combination. And if we try to just stop everything, we'll be forced to work according to those modes in one way or another. You can't, that's not the solution, to stop working. That's what he's saying. So that's text 5. No one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Even if you're just sitting completely still, the mind is working. That also counts. So then he says, one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells, this is the verse of today, but whose mind dwells on the sense object certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. That's not the solution, because the mind itself has to be purified by activity, mental activity and physical activity, that gradually reduces your entanglement in the material world by sublimating your desires. It's all a psychological affair. And so Krishna will teach us in this chapter the key to working without fruit of desire, and in this way eliminating previous karma and gradually disentangling ourselves. So that's what this karma yoga is all about. Okay, so any questions on these points? How to work without fruit of desire. Okay, let's see what he says in text 7. Okay? Yastvindriyani manasa niyamyarapaterjuna karmendriya karma yogam asakta savashishyate. So when you see the word tu in Sanskrit, that's tu, becomes tv in the second word. It means on the other hand. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness, without attachment, he is by far superior. Purport. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime svarta gati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of varna and ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras, and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show battle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So, the Prabhupada is wailing away. So the idea is that better than trying to force oneself into a artificial position of meditation, of doing nothing, stay in your work, do your work, but learn how to do it in such a way that it's helping you to advance in devotional service. For instance, the idea of sacrifice will come in here in the next couple of verses. And when you have a job and you work hard to make some money. Now, if you take some of that, what we call Lakshmi, or money, which you worked hard, and you use it for, say, spreading Krishna consciousness, just like we go out and we have our Sunday feast here, or the Thursday night program next door in the lounge. So people come and they chant and they take prasadam. Prasadam is spiritual food that we offer to the Lord. It's cooked with a certain consciousness of offering, and vegetarian food. Maybe most of you are familiar with it. So someone has to buy the rice and the flour and the vegetables and the fruits, and everyone else goes into that. So if you contribute to that, then the work that you did to make that money that then goes into buying the ingredients that will be given out as prasadam, that is transcendental. That work is no longer binds you. That's an act of sacrifice that will help you to overcome the karmic bondage. So that's what is being mentioned here. That's a far better platform, more wise platform than artificially trying to suppress the senses without really understanding how to engage the senses. So that's what he's saying. If you begin it, arabate means to begin. If you begin karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, it is by far superior. The whole problem is the attachment. We become attached. This was explained in the last chapter. Dhyayado vishayan pungsa sangasteshu bhajayate. It's built in from just being a living entity. If you are exposed to things that are attractive, whatever it is, they're the opposite sex, then you see and you hear, then there'll be an attraction will develop. That attraction can be managed in a Vedic sort of way, but if it's not, then that attraction then become very, very strong, and again, it binds your consciousness to this world. You want to enjoy this, and you can enjoy to some degree, but that enjoyment, material enjoyment, has a reaction, which is that it binds you to this world. Because remember, we're Satchidananda. Ananda means bliss. By nature, our happiness is not meant to end. But material happiness has a beginning and an end. Everyone experiences that. First thing you experience as a child is that you can't always get what you want. You may cry as much as you want, right? But your little happiness has a beginning and an end. And so so no matter how attracted you are, the attachment stays, the desire stays, but the ability to fulfill it is not there. And that's what material life is all about. And there's always the flip side. Everyone experiences, if you try to enjoy too much, say some sweets that you have and you eat too much, you get sick. There's a reaction, right? Okay, hold on. We're going to have a question. Go ahead, Najir. Yes, drugs. Yes. Drugs is another perfect example. No one takes drugs in order to get addicted and turn miserable and become a slave. Everyone takes drugs in order to enjoy or relax or these days to relieve yourself from some pain, right? So that's a perfect example. The opioid crisis that is engulfing this nation, right? Everyone knows about it. So what does it mean? Well, that pill that you're taking is going to make you feel better. You're going to get relief from the pain, right? But then you get addicted to the opioid, OxyContin or whatever it may be. So then comes more suffering, right? After a while, you just have to take the OxyContin just to get to the point of normal to be able to function, right? And so then you're hooked. It's a perfect metaphor for all kinds of sense gratification. Krishna says right in the chapter 5, one of the most revolutionary verses in the whole Vedic literature, Yehi sangsparjaja boga dukkha yonaya evate, which means, very simply, the enjoyment that comes from the senses meeting the sense objects is the very source of your suffering. Adyantamanta. It has a beginning and an end, and the wise, those who are wise, don't take their pleasure there. Or where do they take their pleasure? That's explained in the previous verse. Vayasparsheshu asaktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sabbrahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Sukham akshayam ashnute means enjoying unbreakable happiness. That is not available on the sensual platform. That's only available by coming in touch with Brahman. And Brahman, the supreme Brahman, is Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is not a material sense gratification. It doesn't need to have a beginning and an end. It can go on eternally. This is like revolutionary. The material mind rejects that. That sounds like pie in the sky. That's phantasmagoria. Let me go out and get a beer, or something. Or it doesn't compute. But factually speaking, the whole point here, the Srila Prabhupada is giving us, and he's introducing us to a whole disciplic succession of realized souls who have attained that platform of accessing the reservoir of pleasure within our heart. It's just like we all have this reservoir of pleasure, meaning that Krishna is there, that God is everywhere at every moment, but we can't see it. We have become deluded by the illusory energy, so we can't perceive the reality. And so instead of trying to experience real happiness in touch with Krishna, and it's really there, we try to experience the happiness, the reflection, the shadow, the mirage of material happiness. And it's so frustrating because we can't enjoy all the time. And it's all of this downside. And socially, it can get so super horrible. Here we're sitting in a fairly clean, safe, warm, fairly warm place, and things are okay. But everyone knows there's so many places on this earth where it's just like a horror show. Karma is coming due by the ton and falling on people's head, Now that will also come to an end, but the point is that there is no place in this world which is constantly changing where you can really be peaceful for any length of time and enjoy. It's not built for it. It's built as a reformatory. We're in rehab here, and we don't know it. So as Krishna conscious devotees, we know we're in rehab, and we're doing those things to become cured. The whole idea in rehab is to become cured and not fall back, right? So we're all addicts. Everybody's an addict of different varieties of sense gratification. And it's not just in the human life, all these different varieties of life, and there's millions of them. There's a mind, and there's the senses. The little bugs have their little rudimentary mind, and they're trying to do their thing, and get the answer. They found something sweet. They make a whole line there. You've seen them in your house sometimes. Oh, bliss! Now we got some sugar. What do? They carry it back? I don't know. They get the whole thing going. But so that soul in that ant is the same as us. But the human form of life is a special gift because we have the intelligence to reflect on these things and complete the process of evolution. Go in the back. Go behind me. Just manners. And so that's what we're trying to do. So Krishna's trying to teach us here, and best to begin the process of karma yoga, where you work, you connect your work and the fruits of the work to the Supreme, and it becomes liberating. You gradually liberate yourself from the thrall of material life. So, shall we go on? Okay, text 8. You're on text 8? Text 8, page 145. Niyatam kudakarma tvam karma jayo yakarmanaha sharira yatra pichate napasidhyed yakarmanaha. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Purport: there are many pseudo-meditators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to high parentage and great professional men who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender, so Arjuna was proposing to give up his prescribed duty of fighting. He wanted to go off and become a meditator. So Krishna says, no, don't do that. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas are military men. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul together by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renouncing work and living at the cost of others. So, this is of course being written, this commentary is being written by a pure devotee of Krishna, someone who's fully realized. And he's not making a secret of the process of realization. And when you insert, because this seems like a pretty theoretical thing. I mean, I have so many things I have to do in order to live in this world. How can I possibly be in yoga while I do those things? My mind is so distracted. So this is where the chanting of the holy name comes in. The chanting of this Hare Krishna mantra. Because no matter how busy we are, we have some free time that we can, especially if we cut out a lot of nonsense. So with that free time, we can perform a pure yoga, in mantra yoga, in concentrating on the Lord, and taking the process that's most suitable for this age. In each age, there's different processes that are most suitable. Say, in the Satya Yuga, people lived for a very long time, and it was much calmer. There wasn't all of this artificial industry and build-up. It was very sattvic, what we call sattvic. And they were able to meditate very easily. In this age, it's practically impossible. Certainly not here. You'd have to go off somewhere to a whole different place. But the whole idea is that we have to be yogis and at the same time live in this world. This is not a theoretical, but a very practical process of yoga. So if one devotes a certain part of his day, best part, the early part, to meditation through this process of japa yoga, mantra yoga, or chanting japa, and studying Bhagavad Gita, then one can immediately get a taste of the transcendence. This is how powerful the Hare Krishna mantra is. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Kevalam Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gataranyata. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, O Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever unto your lotus feet bow. I put it into a little ditty. So, but the idea is it's repeated twice, which means that it's uttered 3 times. And that means emphasis. In this age, it's not possible to perform any other kind of yoga successfully. But this japa yoga, this mantra yoga, especially the chanting of this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is so powerful that even, lame Kali Yugites like us, especially me, can make some advancement in devotional service. And you can get in touch with Krishna and with your real self. Just like there's this statement, I discovered one of my poems that I completely forgot, and I would forget it right now. But it says, oh God, give me a second. I'll find it. Okay. All right. We're going to search. Here we go. Sorry about this. But there's this, you're all familiar with the Shakespearean thing, to thine own self be true? Everyone's heard that, right? So this is a play on that. No. Here it is. You're not the body, spirit, soul, so understand your real goal. To love the Lord as He loves you, and thus to your true self be true. What do you think? So understand your real goal. So this is what Krishna is talking about, what Prabhupada has mentioned about the artha, the swartha. Swa-artha. What is the goal of the soul? We have so many arthas. Artha means money. That's a big goal everyone has. You have to get enough money to pay the rent and buy some food and get clothes, right? So that's an artha. But if that's our only artha, then we're hopelessly bound up here. And we're going to suffer old age, disease, and death repeatedly. So we have to have something else, the goal of the soul. So you're not the body, spirit, soul. This is the first thing here. So understand your real goal, to love the Lord as He loves you. Now this is the key of this whole verse, is that we are Krishna is our Father, eternally. He claims us. We have this connection with Him. And we can also have a connection of friend, lover, and servant, like that. But we have the relationship is eternal. It can't be broken. It can be forgotten. And we've forgotten it. So, but Krishna claims that. He says in the 14th chapter, Sarva yona shakuntaya murti eksabhavat tasam brahma mahadyone aham bija padakpita. That all of these living entities, from the top to the bottom, not just human beings, are made possible in this world by a combination of the soul and all the matter. Our body is made of matter. Earth, water, fire, ether, like that. Mind, intelligence. Oh, this is going to be stay open here. We even got the thing down there. But aham bija padak pita. Pita means father. I am the seed-giving father. We're part of Krishna. So just like a father has a son, and the son runs away from home, wants to get away from his boring father and mother, and he goes off to the streets of San Francisco or wherever it is. So the father doesn't forget. We're on page 145. He's always hoping the kid will write or text or send something or just show up at his door, somehow or other make contact. The father's love is constant. He has pictures, he has little recordings, he has videos, right, like that. The kid forgot. He's off and doing what he's going to do, right? So our welfare, Krishna loves us eternally, and we can't imagine how much. But He's put us, because we're so incorrigible, we need what is called tough love. And that's what this material world is about. to teach us we can't be happy, we can't be satisfied and peaceful apart from Him. In this material world, it's an alien world. We're all exiles here. We're strangers. We can never really be at home. Because the real home is this body. But we all get evicted at a certain point. You can't, I was never evicted, but I can imagine how traumatic it can be. All your stuff ends up on the sidewalk, and you're sitting there. Or just think of all these homeless guys and people, ladies too. How can there be any peace? You're lying down there. Someone's going to steal your stuff or bang you on the head. It's horrible. But that's us. We're far from home. We're thinking we create a home, just like, I walked through this alleyway up to Hornblende. So now this house behind the temple is vacant, and they're refurbishing it probably to sell it. So there's no one living there. So there's a little carport with the thing there. Oh, this is like it's Shangri-La for these poor homeless guys. I can have a roof, pretend to have a roof over my head. So they made a little camp back there. I gave them some prasadam one morning. It was like a high point. But how can there be any peace? They get rousted, and now there's a big sign, no, about 10, a foot high letters, no loitering, no stating, but still there's one guy sleeping there, I mean, we see it. But we're also homeless. We're wandering from one body to another. We're wandering from one situation to another. We can't be peaceful in this life. So getting back, opening up. You weren't here. I just read my new poem. You're not the body, spirit, soul. So understand your real goal: to love the Lord as He loves you, and thus to your true self be true. See? So who is the true self? The key is, who are we actually? Who am I? What am I? This is the eternal question, and Bhagavad Gita answers it for all time. We are spirit. Spirit soul, right? We're spirit soul. We are consciousness, and we're particles. We have a threefold identity. One is, as the Shastra says, minute particle of spirit, just like a photon of light coming from the sun, irreducible spirit. But we have a dimension there, but it's very tiny. We're also consciousness. We pervade this body with our consciousness, right? We're very attuned to that. If you stub your toe, you know it. Your consciousness goes there. It's carried through the bloodstream. If my foot falls asleep, which it often does on this new Vyasa-san, I don't feel anything there till the blood starts circulating. We've all had that experience. So I'm fairly aware of my own body, but I don't know about your body, so I'm just through this. But I'm also a person, an eternal person, with senses and desires and everything, which is covered. The reason why I have these senses is because my original form has senses. But these senses only work as long as I'm in the body. As soon as the soul leaves, that's called death, the body is dead. It's not doing anything. It just reverts to the elements, earth, water, like that. Right? So the body is never alive. It's just animated because the soul is inside. So I'm a particle of spirit, I am consciousness, and I'm an eternal conscious person who am now unconscious of my real form and activities. So the whole goal of the soul, the real swarta, swa-arta, swa means my own, arta means goal, is to rediscover my real identity in relationship to the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Person, and to act in that world. This world is a reflection of the real world. This comes out in chapter 15. Is that this is all, everything is temporary here. It's just like a big, probably called a perverted reflection, distorted reflection. The reason why there's love in this world, man, woman, because of the original love affair of Krishna and Radharani. But here it's tragic, because it must come to an end. Anyone who's lived in this world for some time has some experience of that, right? It can be the most painful thing of all, right? And the real most painful thing is our dearmost body, which we treasure like anything, also comes to an end. We have to separate from it. So this is the world of loss. What does it say? Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga janma shoka agnana sakala yona shadayamana. This is a verse from Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, one of our great acharyas, he says, I'm in a fire of lamentation due to two causes. Think about it. Najira, think about it. It's for you. Okay. That the things that are dear to us, like our body, our health, our youth, right, are eventually taken away. That causes great anxiety. And the things that are abominable to us that we really don't want to get are often pushed upon us involuntarily. Isn't that what life is all about? We try to maximize our pleasure, minimize our pain, but in the end, just the opposite happens. And this is called the Shok Agnina, a fire of lamentation. And not just in one body, but many, many bodies. So Prahlad's saying, this is my life in the spiritual world. So, as human beings especially, we have dukkha aushadam. Dukkha means misery, and aushadam means remedy. We concoct so many remedies. Just like this house. Well, now, we live in an apartment, you just push a little button and the heat goes on. Oh, now it's warm. So that's dukkha aushadam. But then that causes more dukkha. Then you get the bill at the end. Oh my God, it's $85? In the summer it was only $40. Now it's $85. So every remedy for the misery causes more misery. Dukkha aushadam tadapi dukkam. And then in 4 syllables he gives the essence of the whole problem, the root. Atadhyaham, because I'm thinking I'm something I'm not. I'm thinking I'm this body, but I'm not. I'm pure spirit. So what's the solution? Now the last line gives a solution, and we should take this one most seriously. He's speaking directly to God in the form of this half-man, half-lion incarnation called Nrsingadev. She knows. And then it says, Bhuman, oh great soul, Bhuman Brahmami Vadameta Vadasya Yogam, please instruct this wandering soul in the science of your bhakti yoga, or we call it the dasya yoga, the yoga of service to God. That's the solution. To really live in our spiritual identity and to attain it and become liberated, not have to come back again to this body. Go back to the real world, as Prabhupada says, back home, back to God. I checked it, it's over 700 times in his writings and teachings. Back home, back to God. We were there once, otherwise why would it be our home? So we've left there, we're exiles, and we want to go back home. And that's the process of bhakti yoga, centered on chanting of the holy name. If you have a regular program of chanting, you'll become very attracted to this philosophy. Because Krishna is there, he'll purify the heart and the holy name. The holy name is always there for you. You can always chant. There's never a time when you can't. Anyone, anytime, any place can chant Hare Krishna and stay connected to Krishna. So, I'm sorry I went over time. Any questions, comments? Hare Krishna. Where did we end? I think we're on text 8, right? We did 8. Okay, 9. We'll do 9 on Monday. 9 is a very key verse. Action has to be performed as a sacrifice for Vishnu, otherwise that binds one to this material world. So, coming attractions. Now, all right. So we don't have time for a reading of the Krishna book. But we do have time for 1 or 2 poems, meditating on Krishna. This is the wonderful thing, is unlimited meditation. So Krishna is all attractive, and part of what is all attractive are his lila. There's a progression, nama, guna, rupa, lila. You start with the holy name. Because Krishna is absolute, even just by chanting the holy name, you can understand, you have revelation of his form, and his qualities, and his pastimes. Think about it. For any individual, you have these 4 elements that would define the person. First of all, what's the name? Right? If the cops are looking for somebody, they say, well, what's the name? Tell me a name. Give me a name. Right? But then they want to know, what does he look like? Or what does she look like? How tall, how heavy, how old, like that, right? And then the qualities. What do they like to do? Are they fat and so forth? And then the activities. Nama, guna, rupa, lila. So all of those are pertain to Krishna, and I'll give you 1 or 2 verses that describe his pastimes. Actually, there's a series. There's 3 verses. Krishna's entering the forest, right? It's all attractive. With lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower placed upon each ear, he enters Braja's woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day with cowherd friends who sing his glories sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way with fine impressions of his lotus feet. And then, so they're free from the village, and they start running. Let's go, said Krishna, don't delay at all. And he and Balaram began to run ahead of all their cowherd friends, who called, O Krishna, Rama, let us join the fun. And off they ran to Braja's forest haunts, to play in every bower, grove, and sward. That's a meadow. The friends would tease their friend, the boys would tease their friend with playful taunts. forgetting his position as the Lord. Shri Krishna is inviting us as well to join him in his pastimes, which enthrall. The wise heed Krishna when they hear him tell, "Let's go, my friends, do not delay at all." For Krishna and his multitude of friends, a festival of joy each day would bring. A special thrill in Braja's forest glens was riding with them high upon a swing. O Ujjvala, Sridhama, Bhadrasane, just see Vrindavan's bountiful delights, the peacock's dance, the songbird's sweet refrain, the lakes and hills and other scenic sights. All these make this the best place on the earth for us to play all day and herd the cows. Thus Krishna, in a mood of sportive mirth, enthused his friends while swinging from the boughs. So there you have it. And now we'll adjourn and prepare for our artik. Krishna will give us his darshan. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.